Hello everyone. Today in the grammar class, we are going to discuss a very important topic, that is tenses. That's, as all of you know, a very important part of grammar, and we ought to keep a note of the tense that we are speaking in every time in our conversation or while we are writing. So, this I hope would be helpful for you. So, let's proceed. Well, tenses, as I already told you, the word tense means time. Thus, the time of action denotes the type of tenses. So, that's something which all of you know, that when we talk about a particular time of an action, that is when we talk about, or we need to use the exact or the specific type of tense that we are speaking in. So, tense means time, as it says. Types: present tense, past tense, future tense. Okay, so that all of us are aware of present tense, past tense, and future tense, keeping the time of the action in mind. These are the broad types that tenses have been divided into. Okay, now there are some forms that are further present of these specific types. Okay, so the types have these forms, all of them follow these forms, right? The first is simple, then continuous tense, continuous form, perfect, then perfect continuous. So let us see uh, as to what all these consist of. Okay, simple present tense. Now, talking about the uses as to when do we use simple present tense, we are going to take a look at some of these uh, uses of that. To express general truths. Okay, so general truths can also be understood as universal truth as well. Okay, so whenever we talk about a general truth or a universal truth, we always use simple present tense. Example here is the earth moves around the sun. So moves is the first form of the verb, okay, move, and we have used that, or we always use the first form of the verb, the simple present tense, in the sentences which express general truth. Okay, the earth moves around the sun. The next use is to describe a habit or custom. Whenever we talk of something that we do on a daily basis, right, a habit that we have or a custom that we follow, we always use simple present tense. All right. Example to clarify this is I go to college every day. So go is the base form of the verb, and the sentence speaks of or is in simple present tense. An action which is done is a customary action or a habit. Okay, so whenever we talk about such actions, we always use simple present tense. So example here is I go to college every day. Another, to express an action of present moment. So if you are talking about something which is taking place at that very moment, then too you use the simple present tense. Example, here comes the train. So that is, comes is the first form of the verb come. Okay, and here we use the simple present, it in the simple present tense, because we are talking about an action which happens at that very present moment. So simple present tense to be used in such condition as well. Now, to quote authors living or dead, whenever we quote some authors, whether they are living or dead, we tend to use, or we are supposed to use, the simple present tense. Example: Shakespeare says, life is but a walking shadow. So, we have just quoted Shakespeare's sentence as it is, and that is why we have used says here, which denotes the simple present tense. Okay, so these are some of the uses of simple present tense, and we ought to keep in mind that in these conditions we always use the simple present tense to be grammatically correct, right? Let us look at the next form now, present continuous tense. Now, the uses are to describe an action that is happening at the time of speaking, as the word itself uh, expresses, continuous expresses that something which is happening at that very moment. It is in a continuous form, so it is understood that we are supposed to use the present participle. Okay, so to describe an action that is happening at the time of speaking, the example here is the boys are playing cricket now. So the sentence having the helping verb and the main verb, the present participle form of that verb. Okay, with to form this sentence in the present continuous tense, the boys are playing cricket now. It expresses the time of action is at that very moment, and it is going on, it is happening at that moment, right? Next, to describe an action going on over a period of time, including present. So, present continuous tense is again used when we are talking about an action which is going on over a period of time and it is continuing at that present moment as well. It is in the present time, we are including that as well. Okay, so here the example is I am learning French. That means these days as well, I am learning French these days. So that is why I guess this particular example clarifies the use of this particular form, that is present continuous tense. We are talking about something which is happening even at the present times. So I am learning French here is in the present continuous tense. Okay, to describe an action which is going to take place in the future. Now, though we are using present continuous tense, but many a times we use it to denote an action which is going to take place in the future, right? The example here would clarify the use. I am leaving for Bangalore tomorrow. Now, the word tomorrow, it speaks about an action which is going to take place in the future, but then the tense used here, I am leaving, okay, is the present continuous tense. So, present continuous tense is used to denote an action which is going to take place in the future, okay, as this sentence, I am leaving for Bangalore tomorrow. So these are the uses of present continuous tense. Okay, present perfect tense. Let us see where we can use it. To indicate that an action has been completed just now or in the immediate past. Okay, so present perfect tense is used to indicate an action which has been completed just now, okay, or in the immediate past. So the sentence here is I have finished the painting just now. I have finished. So, one thing has to be always kept in mind that when we speak of the perfect tense, present perfect, we have to use have or has according to the subject, right? And the third form or the past participle of the verb, right? So, I have finished the painting just now. Have is always used with I and the past participle, that is finished. Okay, so that these two together form the present perfect tense. Okay, now that speaks of an action that has been completed just now. Now, I would like to clarify here that perfect conveys the idea that something has already somebody has already completed or done the work. Okay, and the present conveys the idea that the work has been completed near the present time. So that is the connection with the present time, indicated by has or have. Okay, so this is, I guess, clarifies the use of present perfect tense. Okay, now the next use to indicate that the action began at some time in the past but is still continuing up to the present time. So, example, we have known each other for 15 years. So, the duration tells that it was something which started in the past but it is still continuing, right? It is still present at that moment when you are speaking of it. So, we have known each other for 15 years, present perfect tense being used for an action which began at some time in the past but is continuing up to the present time. Alright. So, we with we have has been used. Okay, have or has is always used according to the subject, as I told you. Plural takes have, singular takes has. I is an exception to that, all of you know that. Known here is the past participle. Okay, so has or have with the past participle forms the present perfect tense. Here the sentence is, we have known each other for 15 years. So that is an action which began sometime in the past but is still continuing in the present time. Okay, the next one here. To describe a past action, the time of which is neither indicated nor definite. Now, sometimes we use present perfect to speak of an action where the time is has not been indicated and is not even definite. For example, here Nisha and Neha have been to Manali. So it just tells about an action which has taken place. They have been to Manali. Now the exact time or the definite moment or definite time has not been indicated. So these are the ways that we can construct sentences using present perfect tense, and these are the things that need to be kept in mind, as I told you, has or have and the past participle of the verb. Now the next form, present perfect continuous tense, that the uses are to describe an action which began at some time in the past and is still continuing. Okay, so I repeat, present perfect continuous tense is used when we are talking about an action which began at some time in the past and is still continuing. Okay, so example, Namit has been sleeping since 3 p.m. So that that started in the past and is still continuing. Okay, so one thing has to be kept in mind when we are talking about present perfect continuous tense, we have to have has or have again as according to the subject, then been, B-E-E-N, because we are using the continuous tense and the present participle, as I told you. So that forms the present perfect continuous tense. Example, I repeat, Namit has been sleeping since 3 p.m. He started sleeping at 3 p.m. and the action still continues. Okay, so that is what it means. Another example, Raj has been working for 4 hours. So, has been working denotes the present perfect continuous tense, an action that began sometime in the past and is still continuing. So, Raj has been working for 4 hours. Alright, it has already been 4 hours and he's still working. So that is what it indicates. So that is when we use the present perfect continuous tense. Okay, this will continue with the other types of the tenses along with the various forms. Till then, I would again suggest, as I have always been telling you, go through the video again, go through the uses, as tenses are supposed to be very important part of grammar. You ought to be well versed with it. If you are already, that's very good. There's no harm in recapitulating. So just go ahead, go through it, and you will definitely be uh, benefited by that. Okay, so that's about it as of now. Have a good day. Thank you.